Okay.
Now I share, and
Now I plug it.
now you plug in.
Family. Almost. Oh, it's still that. Why
Maybe it has to go there first.
Yeah.
I mean, you woke it up and you plugged it in.
Okay, studio, I'm going to go ahead and start.
We may just have to look at our own.
Okay.
Okay, this is an agenda just to let you guys know that I'm organized in my mind, uh, but I won't go through all that. It'll all be revealed. So, last week we talked about that recall race in this district where the Great Highway. Homer told us that it was going to be hard to maintain it because it's built on sand, so they closed it down for a park. And the local supervisor was on board with that. He's a yes in my backyard guy. Well, let's see whether his backyard recalled him. And they did overwhelmingly. He did not win one neighborhood. Poor guy got trounced. So that's the result of that. Um, okay. There's been some interesting data on population, world population. And now we're worried about it shrinking. Shrinking without sinking is the goal now. Two-thirds of the people now live in a country where the reproduction is below replacement value of 2.1. And so these are the countries that are having a lot of kids still, but China and is not replacing itself. And now they've revised the peak of world population to be 9.6 in 2065, and then it quickly tumbles. So we remember when we look at the curves of how world population grew, it was logarithmic. Well, it's going to shrink logarithmically too. And all efforts to boost population are not working. Hungary has done the most and try to pay people to have kids, not successful. And China's one-child policy, they said we don't do not anymore, not anymore, and they can't get women to have babies again after the one-child policy. And the UN is now projecting that China's population is going to collapse by more than half in 2100. So you can see the reddish and dark red countries are the ones that are reproducing the most. Most the blue countries are the ones that are reproducing the less. So here you see China. In Europe, it's interesting that Catholic countries are Spain and Italy are the ones that aren't reproducing much at all.
Wow.
And so the economist says, hey, the real worry is there's going to be fewer brains for innovation, which is an interesting take. That's one of their principles that fewer brains mean fewer ideas means less innovation. But they finally tumble to it's not going to be a catastrophe. Um, it's not going to be a catastrophe. We should just prepare for old societies and new lives will be born and make sure that they're ready to live in these new societies. So an interesting map and prediction of China's population collapsing by more than half. Hi, Homer. Um, so, uh, and AI is advancing, so that may help us. The other bright side that the elderly population is staying productive longer. They take as an example Japan. They've been shrinking for nearly 2 decades, but their living standards have risen markedly. And the technology may make child rearing less exhausting. Finally, something comes along when we're all done raising our kids. But the Economist is upbeat about this. So damming the Blue Nile, I think I have spelled it with an N in my announcement. But here's the map of what's going on. And we're familiar with the White Nile and the Blue Nile coming together. And so this nifty little map shows exactly what Ethiopia is doing. They're damming the Blue Nile, and what that's going to have big consequences for Sudan for sure, and maybe even Egypt further downstream. It's interesting to think about the Nile. Downstream is north, the opposite of the way the Mississippi runs. Um, so that's that. This is a picture of the new reservoir behind this new dam. Um, and that could have geopolitical consequences. So a couple of years ago, when the
Oh, wow.
Ukrainian war was beginning, there
Speak
was
to
this
Arturo.
somebody's not muted. Somebody's not muted. There was this very popular Russian diva who spoke out against the war. Homer, mute. And she is back 3 years after she spoke out the first time. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I can. Let me see. I don't have the screen. I guess I could do this and find the screen to do that.
Hey, John, Homer muted himself.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. And so she's back. She had to leave the country when she came out against Putin 3 years ago. She's back not in Russia itself, but in Latvia, a former colony. And she gave this big interview for YouTube, and saying that her conscience was more valuable than fame. She misses performing in her own country, which she has been doing for over 50 years. And in this YouTube interview, the Russian hierarchy is probably more upset by this. She's always been independent and has this huge following. And she's always followed her inner freedom, the voice that she hears as an artist, free from ideology. She was always a hero to the Soviet Russian women. She never joined the Communist Party. She was known for her common sense and for supporting women and their families. So she gave this interview on YouTube, and at the end, she looked straight at the camera and addressed Putin, and she said, "Just end it." And so we'll see. We'll see. And she's admonishing him. We should be known more for our generosity than for our worldly power. And my fellow countrymen, pray for peace. Don't savor war. Um, and don't think badly of people, particularly the ones you don't know, like the Ukrainians. Uh, so you'll remember we talked about her a couple of years ago. This is her with her husband, who was a comedian. And when the Russian state declared him a foreign agent, she said she registered as a foreign agent out of solidarity. Um, anyway, yeah, this is her in 1976 performing in Berlin, which at the time was behind the Iron Curtain. Putin was an agent in Germany in the 80s, so they had that. This is her with Yeltsin in the 90s, and her with Putin and the leaders of Belarus and Ukraine in 2002. And this is her with Putin in 2014 after he invaded Crimea, getting a special award from Putin. And she has quite a following, 3.4 million followers on Instagram. And of course, the Russians have no comment. But a few years ago, that you had some Putin politician saying she'd lost touch with reality, but she's back very much in touch with reality. This interested me because it's our daughter-in-law is from Colombia, and Colombia just is doing something about the destruction of coral reefs. They've taken the problem, which is made worse by lionfish and diseased coral reefs, and they're repopulating the coral reefs. And the interesting gimmick is they're using IVF. So I didn't know this, but these polyps that grow on coral reefs release eggs and sperm. So what Colombia is doing is collecting these and then kind of like in vitro fertilization, they're taking them into the lab and growing these polyps and then planting them on the coral reefs that have been degraded. And they're somehow genetically stronger. So a little bit of positive news. I just couldn't resist sharing. A few words about Japan's royal family. We have some interested people in our study group in Japan. And this is the 19-year-old nephew of the emperor, a nephew of the emperor. And he is the only male around. And the last time that this ceremony was done was 40 years ago, and they had to go to the nephew because the emperor, current emperor, uh, did has only fathered girls. So this is sort of a rite of passage for the emperor to be. And after I'm getting wait just a second, Aiko. Anticipated you here. He is uh, has to change into black clothing, and then he's going to the shrine of the sun goddess. Um, so this is him turning to black, and he gets to the shrine in this quaint horse-drawn coach. Um, and his name is Hisahito. And he uh, is not in line if women could become emperor. Uh, so they skipped over what um, who would be the rightful empress if Japan wasn't so male chauvinistic. And I'm sure this is what Aiko was going to tell us. Her name is Aiko. Now, she's the empress in this household, but she's not going to get to be empress of Japan. Her mother, it was so stressful for her because everybody was expecting her to produce a male that she had stress-related anxiety and had to disappear from public life for a while. And so that's what's happening, what happened in Japan last week. Small changes in China. Oh yes, comment from the local ICO.
It's sort of ironic that Japan won't let a woman be the empress, because the thing is, Amaterasu, the sun goddess, was a woman, and they worshipped her at the very beginning. So why can't they have a woman now?
Aiko, you were just in Japan last year. Why didn't you make your feelings felt? You have to go back again, Aiko. Um, okay. So a few small changes going on in China I thought worth a mention. They had a dedicated columnist, and he spoke out and wrote some controversial columns, and he lost his accreditation. The Chinese kicked him out, but now he's back. So that's one minor positive thing. And then the we think of the Great China Wall in the internet. It's true that there's no group organizing. That's been pretty well suppressed. But there are social media workarounds using what is it? The the V what? Help me here. Um, how do you get around and thank you, VPN. It takes a village. Using VPN outside organizations are able to post social media critiques, and they post it into the cloud, and that you have an archive for domestic protesters. And this just shows the number of
Nexus in the club.
criticisms of the of the Chinese government that have been going on. Most of them are economic, so they are permissible. But the political critiques of China are alive on VPN. So there you go. There's still some infighting among the autocratic Communist Party in China, and that's the problem with autocracy. Um, and in the Foreign Affairs Department, there are diplomats that are disappearing. In the People's Army, there are purges that are going on. So they may be able to look really sharp in a parade, as they recently did, in contrast to the sloppy parade that we put on, that Trump so much wanted. But this is deceptive because behind this smart-looking parade, there's a lot of problems within the PLA. Um, and they're also reeling back on their wolf warrior diplomacy. You'll remember Wolf Warrior was a Rambo-like character who fought Americans all around the world. And the dialogue at the time, diplomatic dialogue, mimicked this. They were very aggressive in their rhetoric. And this has been rolled back. And the Economist came up with a Wolf Warrior index where they had an AI analyze the words that they chose to use and came up with a graphic that shows that it's much less aggressive. So let's hope that's reality. The big news this week is the UN Assembly, and it's so important that I thought it deserved some attention. Um, the the United States, you can see, pays for a gigantic share of the operating expenses, with China second. But the dark red indicates those countries in arrears. So this is what they paid a couple of years ago, but they're delinquent now, and that's really putting the pinch on the UN, just like they put a pinch on our own foreign aid, domestic foreign aid. Well, they're putting the pinch on the UN as well, so they're behind. And if they continue to be behind, what are the consequences? Well, they lose their vote in the General Assembly, and that would be more one of shame. Do we think Trump would be upset losing? Because he's got the veto in the Security Council, and losing the vote in the General Assembly won't affect him very much at all, because the General Assembly routinely votes against the United States and Israel. But we'll see. America is also undermining the sanctity of borders. They're tolerating Russia's invasion of Ukraine. There's not Trump blows hot and cold, whereas Biden and Obama were consistently against Russia's expansionist policies. But of course, Trump's come up with his own expansionist rhetoric, as we well know. And the sanctity of borders, what does that mean? I ran across this that locates all the ambivalent borders in the world and ill-defined borders. And it's
Yeah,
quite
awesome. Germany.
it's quite something to see that. So you got to have some respect for borders. Otherwise, the world is going to, with all this ambivalence, the world's going to dissolve into chaos. Um, so there were one interesting speculation on how the UN could get America to pay the dues. It's a long shot, but until up until last year, the UN had wanted to put a Latin American woman on, where you balance all the global constituencies and you try to balance it out. But they don't dare try that now because Trump may find that too woke. Uh, so what's the alternative? If only in half jest, is to ask Trump to put up his daughter, Ivanka, to be UN Secretary General. Desperate times demand desperate measures. Um, so who else doesn't pay their assembly, their dues, and has now lost their vote in the assembly? If we don't, we'll join Bolivia, Afghanistan, and Venezuela.
Wow.
And then America's been backpedaling, especially under Trump. We've already dropped out of UNESCO, citing an anti-Western bias, and it especially hit high gear when UNESCO admitted Palestine. I'll say a little bit more about that in just a second. And the World Health Organization, we dropped out of that because they seemed too differential to China during COVID. And we dropped out of the UN aid to refugees because of their aid to Palestinians. And we dropped out of the UN Human Rights Commission because they gave a proportion amount of attention to Israel. You see a pattern here? And then we also dropped out of the population fund a while back because of China's one-child policy. That's over 10 years ago. So the reasons to stay, one would be the IAEA, that's the UN commission of experts that monitor nuclear policy in Iran. And we're staying in international aeronautics coordination for obvious reasons. And we're continuing refugee aid to Latin America, I guess, because that would keep the refugees in Latin America and away from our borders. So Palestine, the big news yesterday was that France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and Malta joined the world majority in recognizing Palestine. So recognition is one thing, but these are all the countries, the green countries, are the countries of the world that recognize Palestine. And we in Germany, in particular, are two exceptions, and it's because of our unique relationship to Israel. Remember, we talked about when we were doing history that you could consider Israel included in our manifest destiny. When you look at 1948 and the history of how Israel came into existence, it was a creation of the United Nations, sponsored by us, the United States. Um, so now France and Belgium and Luxembourg and Malta, they all turned green yesterday. So that was the big deal of this year's assembly. Um, and the Palestine can't be a full member of the United Nations because every time it comes up, we veto Palestine's membership. These are in the Security Council. You know, the Security Council has 5 permanent members, but it also rotates another 7 or 8 members. And the last time it was voted on in the Security Council, all these countries voted in favor of giving Palestine membership. But because we're one of the 5 members on the Security Council with veto, it didn't come to pass. And that's what's going on now. I thought it was interesting. And the history of this, the Oslo Accords were signed, and it looked like there was a straight path for the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, to be on a glide path to full membership in every organization. But the Oslo Accords were destroyed. It turns out assassins have a veto in what's acceptable. And the assassinations have been carried out by settlers in the West Bank and now in Gaza. And you look at that, and when you think about American history, we got to remember that our history of expansion is very strong. We're sitting in a territory that was not always American right now here in California and also New Jersey. So that is the similarity that we have with Israel. We're both nations of settlers. And so when Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated, Netanyahu finally, that was the beginning of his ascension to power. And he's the one guy who's benefited from these assassinations. So when that happened, the Palestinians waited over a decade, and then they started to pursue international recognition wherever they could get it. And so in 2011, 2010, Lula broke the dam and recognized the Palestinian, the PLO. And that was 2010. In 2011, UNESCO, the organization of a political organization of the UN, admitted Palestine. In 2012, they were accepted as observer status. And in 2014, the International Criminal Court recognized Palestine as a state that could negotiate on future issues involving their people, even though they're not members of the United Nations. If you break this down by economic power, the G20 states, 14 of the G20 states recognize Palestine. The five that have not, Germany, Italy, and Japan, interestingly, why are the Axis powers not recognizing Palestine? And then, of course, the United States. It's our veto in the Security Council that effectively keeps them from becoming full members. All right, so there's some domestic analysis I thought worthy of covering. The Republican Big Tent. Yes, Michael.
Um, hold on. My question is there a place for the United Nations anymore?
Yeah, they're even if we're not members of the World Health Organization, the rest of the world is. So yes, that's a spinoff. That's monitored by the United Nations. And again, just negotiating and monitoring airplane flight globally. And then the IAEA monitoring the development of nuclear power. And then the refugee stuff that we'll even sign on. So those are four reasons. There's plenty more for the rest of the world, but if you're asking about real power, no. But you just kind of hold on with the lower level stuff and keep working together, and hopefully there'll be some kind of evolution after Trump leaves, where Trump did all this stuff in his first term, and Biden reversed it. So let's hope that whoever follows Trump will reverse it. Just remember, Reagan did some stuff too. He was not UN friendly, but all that got reversed. And then another Republican, George W. Bush, he invaded Iraq in defiance of the United Nations. And Obama recovered from that. So American kind of yo-yo policy back and forth, you survive, and let's hope we survive this. Homer.
Yes.
Do you have your hand up?
Oh, yes, I do. That very question was raised by Trump in his remarks to the UN today. His audio-visual didn't work very well, so he'd lost his teleprompter. And that plus the escalator bringing him up, stopping mid-point, led him to question whether the UN can get anything done right. So he was raising the question about its efficacy himself, whereas the UN laughed last time, misunderstanding some of his criticisms as meant humorously. This time it remained silence at the General Assembly at his speech. So he just spoke this afternoon, so I thought it was pertinent.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, my apologies. There are roofers on our roof, and it's very noisy here, and they'd gone through our ceiling at one point. That's when I caused the disruption earlier. My apologies.
No problem. Thanks for that up to the minute update.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a little bit more update to that. There's a little bit more update to that. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
I guess Trump got paused on the escalator.
Yes.
But it wasn't the United Nations personnel wasn't responsible for that. It was one of Trump's traveling party that pressed the wrong button to stop the escalator.
I hadn't heard that. That's cool.
So then here's the second story on the teleprompter. I mean, the United Nations doesn't want to say anything too loudly. The other thing on the teleprompter is is the United Nations says we have nothing to do with the teleprompter. That teleprompter was run by the White House. So now, you know how it goes these days. You get different stories. So I thought that was sort of
News.
Yeah, as long as we're on the subject, I'd like to recommend Jon Stewart's broadcast on last night. He did a great riff, basically on Jimmy Kimmel, but it included a takedown of Trump's trip to Great Britain. Look it up. It's quite hilarious. Uh, and of course, I guess ABC has uh, changed its mind, and I guess Jimmy Kimmel will be on tonight. So that's interesting. But that hadn't happened yet with the Jon Stewart's program yesterday. Okay. Okay, the Republican Big Tent, The Economist did an interesting thing. It broke down the Republicans into five tribes. And they did give Trump credit that he is able to hold these five tribes in his big tent. And that's always been a challenge for Democrats. And for whatever he's got, he's able to do it. Um, and we're not particularly admiring of the way he does it, but he does it. And so the five types, first are the moderates. They're the ones we're most familiar with and keep putting our faith in. Sometimes they come through, sometimes they don't. Uh, and this tribe is the youngest, and it's the most open to immigration. Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. The culture warriors is a pretty big one. Average age of 58. They're the most religious and the largest. Ted Cruz and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Their big issue was abortion. Um, and then the economic populace, Josh Hawley and J.D. Vance. And they're even on good days for taxing the rich, like Steve Bannon, actually. But their constituency is the poorest and Republican women. And then there's the neocons, the international hawks.
Yeah.
They're the oldest and the whitest. And interestingly, both of their figureheads are from South Carolina, Senator Lindsey Graham and Nikki Haley, who challenged Trump. And then the isolationists, they're the smallest. They're skeptical of institutions. They're very strong libertarians, Rand Paul. So those are the five groups, and then I won't dwell on this, but they look at the different issues and how they distribute themselves. No real surprises there. Uh, and then who likes Trump the most? Well, it's the culture warriors. Who likes him the least? The moderates, no surprise there. And this is the average of all of them. So the point, I think, is that Trump can contain people with his bully pulpit in a big tent. And the House, that's where the culture warriors are, the Senate, the neocons. They're all over the executive branch, all of them. And then there's nomads like Musk and Kennedy. Um, so, um, Okay. And then Fareed had some interesting points to make on the violence in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination. And J.D. Vance claimed that the left condones violence, which Fareed couldn't refute, but it's mostly in defense against actual commission of violence, which is overwhelmingly done by the right. And that's been proven and studied in three separate studies, including the Cato Institute. There was another study the Justice Department put out that confirmed that the commission of violence was done more on the right, but that's been deleted from their website. And of course, the size of the problem of violence varies with the event. This Nancy Pelosi's husband, of course, right after that, the Democrats would consider it a huge problem. But the two assassination attempts on Trump, the Republicans thought the violence was more of a problem. And then you had a couple of attacks on Democrats, the same thing. And now it's Charlie Kirk, and the Republicans are saying it's a big problem. So it varies with the victim, unsurprisingly. But Fareed noticed an interesting thing. It's called effective polarization, where it's not what the issues are so much, but it's how we think about our opponents. And the opposition tends to overestimate the support for political violence by the other party. And it's a ratio of 4 to 1. So Democrats, both parties, only 10% supported any political violence. But the Democrats think that 40% of Republicans do, and Republicans think that 40% of Democrats do. So the perception of the problem is 4 times greater when you run it through the prism of our political tribes. And if we just would talk to each other, 10 years ago, Iko and I did this consensus challenge where we matched one liberal with one conservative. And Homer's sister, I think, was one of the participants. And we found 6 dyads, 6 couples. And at the end of the period, only one person had changed their allegiance, which I thought was a resounding success, and Iko thought it was a dismal failure. So I'm wondering whether we should try again in this current, looking at that 4 to 1 ratio. Maybe we should give it another whirl. But Fareed ends on an up note, which I'll share. And
3 minutes.
Yeah, that Fareed says Americans are finally finding their way to compromise abortion. That's for states and state legislators now. So some women in red states have paid the price for that, that's for sure. But it's off the table as an issue right now. Gay rights has been embraced by both parties. And even here in California, San Francisco's doing some stuff with with homelessness. They recalled some radical school board members, and they recalled the ultra liberal San Francisco prosecutor who was deemed too tolerant of minor shoplifting. And immigration, even. You remember there is right now a broad consensus on doing something. And James Langford, you'll remember, way back 10 months before the election, had worked out a compromise that Trump nixed because it took the issue away from his just abusing it and using it as a wedge issue. But right now, the public clearly disapproves of the brutal and cruel deportations that we're witnessing. So he thinks we're quietly self-correcting. He thinks we all have to learn to accept partial victories and half measures, and to dare say aloud what the vigilantes on social media will attack you for, just like Trump will attack you to keep his base in line. But we're actually quietly doing it. So there's an optimistic take. This leads us up to our history, how 30% of our population can still strongly support Trump. And we've been marching through our history. As I said earlier, we got up to Manifest Destiny. So that's where we'll start next week, and I'll stop there and open up the floor. Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, I got two comments. I just read this recently in the last day or two, and I can't remember where I read it. But you just talked about immigration. And what I read is that from an economical point of view, the public in general think immigration is good for the economy because, you know, the immigrants do a lot of jobs that Americans won't do. And then my second point that I read the other day is that
maybe
that Trump, well, let me rephrase that. The Republicans might be in trouble come the midterm elections in 2026 because a lot of the people who voted for Trump for president, they won't be going to the polls, which is a normal thing for Democrat presidents and Republican presidents. So I thought those were two interesting things that I read.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Okay.
Don, I had a couple thoughts about earlier things. One, you mentioned the ocean temperature changing, which is of concern in the coral. The other thing that's big is that the pH of the ocean has been changing. And Homer and Mike will know, the ocean pH has changed by 0.15, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that would take our body's 7.4 down to a 7.25 pH, which all of us would recognize as problematic. Anyway, the other is that this is lighter note. You mentioned Japan and AI, and they have a robot that they've been working on for a number of years that's called Pepper. And it's a personal assistant, and it asks how you're doing. So I'll try to find that link and send it for you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, it's been almost a year ago that Pepper was our personal assistant in Sicily. So there you go.
Yeah, I'd just throw in. I just got back with a group of old fraternity brothers, and we've been getting together for well for a lot of years. And at any rate, one of the things we stayed down at Pajaro Dunes, and I don't know, you look down there and the amount of labor, as you know, I have to give it to Cesar Chavez and what they were doing as far as all of the stoop labor and the strawberries and what it takes to that it's remarkable. And boy, I tell you, the when you go to the market and just get a little basket of strawberries and realize the amount of work that goes into that and is was just really remarkable. And I'll forever think about that in that little basket and how grateful I am that I can even, you know, and I don't know how ICE or, you know, there are so many people that are there. They're all sporting Mexican flags now because it was, I think on Monday, it was a national holiday in Mexico. And that was Mexican Independence Day, I believe. And so, yeah, it's, it, I don't know why they're worrying about Korea when they could just basically be stepping into to Watsonville.
Yeah, I'm sure Aiko has something to say about this.
Well, I remember the grape strikes. Remember that
Yeah.
with Chavez and
But your mom and dad were strawberry pickers in Watsonville.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and Aiko uh, developed her early skills in the kitchen working in the cannery.
Well,
yeah, my sister and I both wanted a job in the cannery after picking strawberries all our young lives. And so I was taught not to lie, and so I lied a little bit. And the cannery guy said, "Your sisters?" "Yes." "You're 6 months apart." Uh,
You had to be a certain minimum age.
Yeah, but he was nice enough to give us both a job. So we got out of the fields.
Yes.
one of the vendors at our Walnut Creek market, I've gotten to know him. He and his wife met. I think he was 17 years old, and his wife as well. They're much older nowadays because he can't stoop over. But I think he picked 120 boxes, the big boxes of strawberries. He could do 120 a day, and that's how his wife could do the same thing at 17 years old. So, man,
They must have been big strawberries.
Bruce,
well,
I appreciate it. And in full circle, Dolores Huerta's son is a family doctor, Fidel Huerta. I knew him when I was in the valley. So it's going
oh,
both ways. We're going to have white guys picking the strawberries, and we'll have Latino guys who are our doctors.
okay, well,
All right.
Hey,
Okay.
Harold, I got a question for you. Any relation to Mickey Mantle?
Who are you asking?
oh
Harold,
yeah, Harold, you need to mute.
You
Unmute.
need to unmute yourself, Howard. Are you any
Oh,
Okay,
relation to Mickey
unmuted.
Mantle?
Are you ready for this? Mickey and I have the same great great grandfather.
Wow.
So he's like a third cousin.
all
I
right.
didn't inherit any of his hand-eye coordination. Zero.
I wouldn't say that, seeing all of the work you do at the garden.
So
Uh,
that on ball, not so good.
well, good pickup, Tom. Yeah. All right.
Well, John, did you and Ayuko enjoy the mountain shadow on Saturday?
We did. We did. What was your favorite?
Well, I think they were all good. Yeah, it was amazing to see the old and the youngest versus the oldest, and we hosted the Indians, uh, the two Indian boys, and so that was fun to see them.
Yeah.
Oh
I like
yeah.
that one too, but I like Bill's shoes the best.
One.
Oh yeah, oh so.
Which
What was interesting is that show that was not filmed in India, interesting enough, and that wasn't which I hadn't realized. But the actress is actually she's 11 years old um, uh, and living in Los Angeles, Hollywood, and they had to quickly paint the one of the buildings to make it look like it was a firecracker place in India. So.
Oh, that's interesting. So, just a little bit of background for the others. That our local film society, once a year they actually get members of the society to pick 10 films, short films to show. And then we all assemble and we're supposed to vote on them. Of the 10 shows, 9 of the directors actually came. So that was quite something from all over, well, the world. And so that's what we're talking about. It all happened when we lost our local art house that mostly showed foreign films, and so this local minister who went into real estate decided to start his own organization. And we usually go to the library to watch the films. So it's quite nice to have that. That's what we're talking about.
What was your top vote film?
What was ours?
Yeah, Bruce.
Oh, well, I of course had to vote for the Indian film, and then the second one, which was the little animation one with the fabric. I thought
Yeah.
that was really good, and the I think that yeah, I've forgotten number three already, but we went to the discussion then on Monday, and yeah, so it was good. They were all good. It was interesting to see the 17-year-old from Menlo Atherton that he had to get his mother to drive him around now and then. So,
Well,
So, what is the name of this film society that draws directors from all over the world for this competition?
the Mountain Shadow.
they had 477 entries, and so and then there's a jury of I don't know what are there 19 people that in the jury, and they're the ones that then vote for what and then the requirement is you have to be there to present your film, and so they come from all over everywhere. And it used to be um, obviously some people that have troubles, but yeah, that's very interesting.
Do you know who won? Have they announced it?
Yeah, you'll see it. I think on Friday there'll be a full kind of an announcement or how people voted for all of the films.
Okay,
And
thank you.
All right, enough about local Walnut Creek stuff.
yeah, that's right. Okay.
The Art Center of the East Bay.
Yeah, and I think Jimmy Kimmel tonight is having Gavin Newsom as his guest, just to wrap it
Oh,
back
really?
into politics.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and you didn't talk about the boycott on Disney, which cost them
Yeah.
something like $4 billion in a couple days from the
That's right.
stock drop.
Yeah, now everybody has to go and re-sign up.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way to protest.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Okay, folks. See you next week.
okay.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you,
was
John.
wonderful, as usual.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you for your
Want another one?
interesting